Yeah, so please see here now. So in yesterday, okay. So in yesterday class, we started understanding about the REST API testing tool, right? So what are the REST API testing tools we have? Postman, Insomnia, even you do, maybe you can hear some other names also. SOAP UI or some other software is also available. But the more popular one is Postman only. And by using Postman, what we are doing here? So what is the use of Postman? At what scenarios it is helping us? Yeah. So whenever we are implementing REST services, it's not that much easy to implement client application always. Client application means whoever is sending the request. So it's very difficult to implement always a client application or client code. So that's why we are using a tool called as Postman, and the Postman is working as a client. So that means from the Postman, we are sending the request to our respective REST clients. Stop that. So that is, yeah, we will see a lot of advantages with Postman and how we are going to use Postman and everything. Okay, now by using Postman, can we test any REST API? I mean, yes, in future, whatever the services we are implementing, by using REST API testing tool Postman, we can test any REST service. Okay, going further, whatever the REST service we are going to implement, in whatever the requirement, we can test it from the Postman. Because we cannot implement the front end, we cannot implement the client application always to verify our REST service is working as expected or not. And one more thing, when we are defining a endpoint with get method or any specific HTTP method, and if you are sending request with a different method, then what is the error you are getting? Method not allowed, and you will see a status code something like 405. So what is that status code and all? I'll explain. It's very important. Okay. So after that, we understood couple of annotations like composed annotations, or we can call it as shortcut annotations, shorthand annotations, whatever it is. What are the composite annotations we have for to replace the request mapping annotation? We have get mapping, put mapping, all these things. So what internally get mapping or put mapping, post mapping, how they implemented internally again? They are using again internally request mapping only. So instead of we are giving always as a method equal to post, put and all. So they defined inside already with request mapping and the attribute method and the respective HTTP method. Yeah, here. So however we written here, this one internally, this line is being added again as part of implementation of put mapping annotation. So you just need to remember all these things internally, how they defined and all. Okay, fine. So now let's come back to the today's topics, what we can discuss. Okay, so now at least we have an idea how we are going to create a REST service or how a REST service is going to look like and how we are going to verify a simple REST service. Now we have a small idea, right? So from last 2-3 classes, we understood now how a REST service is going to look like or how we are going to implement a REST service and how we are going to verify the REST service as a developer point of your development time. So we understood a little bit idea right now or not? So now today, now see the actual REST services, how you are going to implement and everything in a requirement point of view we'll discuss. Now, for example, we are just implemented kind of printing hello world or welcome, okay, all these kind of messages, but it's not reality, right? So then how we are going to implement what kind of requirements we will take, see here. For example, in a front end point of view, I'm taking again an application, a requirement oriented I'm taking to make it very clear. I have a requirement and we are implementing a form for the user registration again. Okay, so whatever it is, you just feel. Okay, so assume this form is having other fields also, other data also, like gender, all these details, radio boxes, check boxes, and everything as a front end user interface level. Now, generally, once user clicking on the register button, what will happen? A request, a HTTP request will be created, and that this entire data is converted as a request object, whatever the data we are entered. So the data is added to the request body, and that request body is coming to the backend application. So inside a backend application, where it is reaching? In our Spring only. Where it is reaching then? Controller class. Yes. Controller layer. We can call it as controller layer. Okay, and then response will be given back. Fine. So in this case, generally, in our previous examples or maybe HTML point of view, or view layer integration in the same application, what we did, we written which language here? HTML data, right? HTML forms we written. HTML forms we written, and the data coming as a, so as part of the request body, once user clicking on the register button, a request object is getting created, and as part of the request body, the data coming in which data format? Is it HTML data or something, any other programming language data? It's purely HTML data format you are getting. So that means, like how you are getting, for example, I given tag name as name, then value as Dilip. And similarly, email colon, the value as Dilip@gmail.com. So this entire data is just coming as a HTML data. Okay. The data format going as HTML data to the our respective controller layer. Internally, it will use some servlet technology. We are using request.get parameter. That is all happening. But with respect to REST services, okay. So with respect to REST services, if I am taking the same example one more time. Okay. So see here. Now, what is the use of REST services? First of all, why we are discussing more about the REST services? The reason behind REST services, what? To make our functionality is portable to any application. To make our application functionality is portable to any other application. What is the meaning of portable here again? So that means my application functionality can be integrated with any other application. It might be front end, it might be any other programming languages, whatever it is, whatever application it is, they can connect with my application. They can communicate with my application. Okay. So in such case, what is the concept we are using? Web services. So out of web services, we are using REST services. So that means in that case, do we need to make sure, we are discussing something like every time we are taking HTML? My point here it is, when you are implementing the REST services, you know the reason why you are implementing, because some other application has to connect to your application. So now this is your application, and sometimes it might be front end, or it might be one more other application, Python application or .NET application or any other Java application. So anyone can connect to your REST services, whatever you implemented. Anyone can call your REST services. Fine. So here it might be front end. Okay, your application is back end, and at the same time you are having front end application also. Your front end is integrated with the back end. Or sometimes a .NET application is connected couple of REST services from your application, or similarly a Python application. Okay, or another Java application. So like that, a different applications are connecting to your application by using a concept called as REST API concept. Fine, we know that. But at the same time here, how one application is going to exchange data with the another application, in which data format? For example, as a human being, if you want to exchange information, if you want to communicate, how we are communicating, in which language you are communicating, are we have a specific language, or are we speaking something like whatever comes in our mind and we are exchanging? No, right? We are always having a specific language, whether it is a native language, whether it is a global language, English, Hindi, Telugu, whatever it is. So when you know that the opposite person, what he will understand. Okay, he understands the English. Okay, let me communicate in the English language. Okay, he understands Telugu language and I know only Telugu. So then I will try to communicate with the Telugu language. Or else, I know only Telugu but you know Hindi. And I know English, you know English. So then which language I will prefer? English language I will prefer. Or sometimes, I know only English and you know only Hindi. Then what we have to do? So, you are going to take some converter help. See, reality, that's what. So I know English, you know only Hindi. You don't know English, I don't know Hindi. Then what? How you are going to communicate? So here one application, another application. How you are going to use some translators. You are going to use some converters. English to Hindi, Hindi to English. Converters we are going to take. And finally we are able to make the communication, right? So similarly, same kind of concept is going to happen here. And at the same time, when we written earlier purely HTML logic, the request data format, the entire data, okay, converted as a HTML data. Which data? HTML data format. And the data, HTML data format, share it to the controller layer. So controller layer, to deal with the HTML data format, what is the object we taken? HTTP servlet request. Yes. HTTP servlet request. So that's why they also taking this HTTP servlet is going to take data from the HTML data format by using get method, get parameter methods and all. But in this case, now, can I use always HTML data format? Can I send to this application? Okay. So can I send always HTML data to this SAS application? For example, assume from user interface point of view, I sent HTML data. Okay. User interface, I used HTML language. But when it comes to the .NET application, .NET is having any functionality of HTMLs. .NET language, internally .NET is having any HTML language. Java is having any HTML language, right? So we don't have any languages. Then is it possible to take always HTML data in this case? If I'm taking, for example, ICICI Bank, accepting only HTML data, only HTML data. So then the REST services point of view, is it possible to integrate from the .NET, Python, Java applications? It's not possible because Java, .NET, Python or some other programming languages don't know anything about the, okay, HTML language or HTML request concepts, all these things. Then how we are going to make sure? So that's the purpose. What we are going to do here it is, I mean, the REST services especially, we are going to use a common data formats specific across all other programming languages. Common data formats across programming languages. So what is the point you understood here? Common data format across programming languages. Now tell me why I am speaking English here. Why can't we speak in Telugu or Hindi? Because here there are so many people only knows Hindi, only knows Telugu, but commonly we all know English language, right? Similarly here also, what we are going to do, now we need to identify something, a data format or a language which has to share between client versus server application, client versus server application. So generally, the web service concept is what? Exchanging the information, sharing information between one application to another application. Okay, or another application will process your request and it will give response to another application. So that is the purpose. Generally, we are using the web services. Now, in this case also, HTML, when you are using front end and back end, everything together and in the same place, Okay, so then HTML body is fine. But now, with respect to .NET, Python, or any other programming languages point of view, okay, we are not sure about they are going to work with the HTML. So that's why we are going to take some common data formats across programming languages. Now, can you guess one specific language? I think you observed in so many places. XML, right? So in Java, are you used XML or not? Yes, Python. Yes, they are having concepts about the Python. .NET is having. Front end also, some of the places you will see the Python also. I mean, somewhere else, somewhat related to the XML. So that means, yes, I can use XML also. For example, okay, what we know right now, XML language. XML is part of Java. XML is an individual language. XML we can use with .NET, Python, or any other programming languages also. So that means the data format. Now, if I take it as a XML, okay, front end point of view, I can convert. Okay, I can share XML to the. Now, ICICI Bank is accepting XML data format now. This time onwards, the ICICI Bank application is accepting which data format? XML data format. Now tell me, XML is compatible for all other programming languages or not? Yes, every programming language can share their information in XML. Now, as a Java, we know that. Okay, so how to prepare XML or how to share XML data? Now I'm sharing my all information. Okay, so something like, you know, XML rules, basic rules is enough. Sorry, employee name. Okay, so assume I have to exchange this information. I would like to send my username, okay, or password. I can take it as password also in ICICI Bank point of view, whatever it is. So I'm just sharing my information from this Java application to this, okay, another Spring Boot application, whatever it is. Okay, so now I'm sharing XML information. The information in which data format? XML data format from Java application or one application to another application. Can I do that now? So now similarly, Python is also making same XML data format because XML is not part of or XML is only related to Java. XML is an individual data format. XML language is supported by every other programming languages internally. Okay, now Python is also sharing in XML data to the client application, to the server application. So can we do that or not? Yes. Now this is how we are going to use some common data formats, especially when you are implementing the REST services. Now my application functionality is entirely implemented REST services and my all REST services internally accepting XML data. Now tell me, all third party application or all other applications can communicate with my application easily or not? Yes, 100%. Any other programming language application can communicate with my application easily. Why? Because other application knows XML, how to deal with the XML language. My application knows how to deal with the XML application language, XML language, so that we can make communication between both the applications or not. So that is the purpose we are going to use to exchange data between one application to another application, even front end versus back end also. When you are using the REST services concept, so we are going to take which data form, we are going to take a request data format or response data format. Finally, it is called, I'm just making it as a data format. So now in this case, I can send the user interface level, assume you guys written in the React point of view, and customer point of view, you are always going to display this form only as a customer point of view. But in the logic point of view in the backend, as a React developer, what you will do is once user clicking on the register, you will create a body and request body in the data format of HTML or XML. Yes, XML, because my application this time onwards accepting which language, which data format? Only XML data format. If you are sending any other data formats, I will not allow you. So that's why now this application converted everything as a XML, and that XML body finally hand over to the REST controller. Okay, this is how we are going to make sure, or this is how we are going to use a common data formats when you are implementing the REST services. Okay, so that your application is compatible to communicate with any other application. Your application is compatible with any other application to exchange the information, to integrate with other applications. Okay, fine. Now my next point. Have you ever heard about the JSON? Anytime anyone else knows about the JSON? Okay, no problem. So see here now. Okay. So what is JSON? I will tell you. It's very important. Now, for example, and Hindi and English I will take. What is the difference between Hindi and English? So that is a different language. This is a different language. Finally, you are using for the purpose is same. Communication. Communicating with the persons, opposite persons. Communication. Okay. Only thing is channel is different. Language is different. Syntaxes are different. Okay. Pronunciation is different. But ultimately the goal is communication. Ultimately the goal is communication. Right? Similarly here also. Okay. So similarly here also, like similar to XML, we have another data format called as JSON data format. Not similar. We have one more competitor, or I can say like one more data format called as JSON data format. So now that means in place of XML, can I use JSON? So that means every programming language nowadays is supporting JSON data formats also. Okay. So you don't know the JSON, but I'm telling you like similar to XML. However, every programming language nowadays, I mean earlier supporting XML data format. Yeah. Yeah, not only SQL, I'll tell you everything. Give me a moment. Yeah. So, however, we used in olden days what? XML data format. XML, we are exchanging data. That's why SOAP web services also, when I explained about the SOAP web services, internally SOAP web services, finally SOAP web services, what is the purpose of SOAP web service? That is also same purpose. In place of REST services, if you are using SOAP, there also one application sending information to another application sharing information to this application by using SOAP web services. Okay. So internally SOAP web services is using which data format? XML data format, because at one point of time, we have only XML data formats. To exchange data in between one application to another applications, people are always preferred which data format? XML data format. But the disadvantage of XML data format is internally it requires a XML parsers concept is there. XML parsers. It will compile the XML data format to DTD files. So there are some concepts are there. XSD, XML schema definition. So some XML tools required internally by every programming language. So when you are sharing XML, it's not lightweight. Internally, it has to use some XML parsers, some XSD validations. It will do a lot of other things. So that is the reason the performance is getting slow when you are exchanging information between one application to another application. But at the same time, you have only one option. What we will do then? We will use same one only, whatever the performance it is giving. But after that, we got one more data format called as JSON data format. Here JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. Okay, JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. So JSON is a data format like XML only. Okay, so on JSON, by using JSON, we can represent data in a plain text format. So that means here the JSON data format, the purpose of JSON, why we are using in this case also, for example, user interface would like to share this information, first name, email, password, contact, whatever entered by the customer. Now this time, so the front end is going to share the request information to the REST controller in which data format in this case? I can use JSON also. Not only XML, I can use JSON also. So how it looks like, what are the rules and regulations available in the JSON? We are going to understand slowly. Okay, for example, here how many fields I have? 4 fields I have, right? So for this, let me create a XML data format first. So tell me, what is the rule for XML? When you are writing any XML file, there are some rules available in the XML language. What it is? Okay. Okay, now tell me, is this the valid XML file or valid XML content? For example, I saved in user.xml file. So is it a valid XML file? Why no? So as per XML rules and regulations, we will always need a parent tag. We always need a super tag, parent tag. So do we have any parent tag for this? So that is what? That's so please know all these things. Okay, so whatever it is, I given now. Tell me now, is it a valid XML syntax? Yes, now it is valid because as per XML, you need to, okay, always keep everything in the parent tag. So one super tag you need to take and inside that you're going to keep. Is this? So what is the user? Marks is a child for the user. Similarly, you can define inside that, you can define your own child tags also. So you just need to know the hierarchy of XML. I thought, okay. So like, however, when you're dealing with the web.xml file, what is the parent tag you observed? Web.xml, I asked. Web hyphen app, right? So you will see a parent tag. So inside that you are writing child tag, servlet mapping, servlet, all these things. So those are all XML rules. Okay, blindly don't by heart and put it. So understand how you are writing the XML. Okay. Now this is how, for example, assume I remove this. Okay, assume now I have created a data format like this. When user is clicking on the register button, I converted everything as a XML point of view and I share it to the backend application. Okay, in this data format. And finally, my application can understand XML data format. Somehow I'll use some techniques and I'll make the remaining action, service layer, DB layer point of view and all I'll take it. But here, when it comes to the JSON, why I involve JSON now? Okay, why XML versus JSON? Which we have to choose? These are all questions you will get now. Why JSON I introduced and as well as XML versus JSON, what we have to use, we will try to understand. Okay, I'll give you that. Now, for example, JSON is also similar to XML, another kind of data format or not. So by using JSON also, I can share information from front end to back end or not, or from one client application to another client or not. Yes, I can do that. But how to understand the JSON data format, how to learn the JSON data format? I'll tell you here also you are having a lot of rules when you are preparing the JSON data. Okay, so I will tell you then, but first of all, we will finalize whether we are continuing or using XML or JSON in our REST services implementation in a request format point of view or response format point of view. Are we using XML or JSON more and more in real-time applications? I'll try to clear right now itself. So I'm telling you, nowadays, most of the times, people are supporting or people are implementing their REST services only by using what? JSON only. That's the purpose I introduced JSON. Otherwise, I will continue with XML. Okay. So the most of the times people are nowadays using which data format? JSON data format only. Every REST application, every REST service, any application is implementing REST services. They are 100%, not 100%, I cannot say, but more than 90% people are using which data format? JSON data format. People are not using XML data format because there are reasons why they are not using. I'll try to tell you that one also. But people are using which one? XML versus JSON? JSON data format they are using to implement the REST services to exchange information between one application to another application. When you are sending a request, when you are receiving response also, you will receive either as XML or JSON data format point of view. Now tell me, Spring Boot web application by default supporting which data format? Internally? Have you seen that anywhere else? We return one endpoint order. So in this case, if I'm sending request to this, whenever it is returning order object, so this order, what is the value you are returning here? Order object or not? How it displayed in your browser level? In JSON data format. So here, that means we can support. Now I will give you a couple of points again here. As part of REST API implementation, we can use XML or JSON either XML or JSON or both also to exchange data in between applications. So what is the point I told you? So we can use either XML individually or we can use only JSON, or sometimes my application will support. I mean, we can support as a REST API developer a client application. Sometimes you may support either JSON as well as XML also. JSON and XML also. So that means in such case, a client application can send request to your application, to your REST service in which data format now? They can send either JSON or XML also. They can send either JSON or XML also. Because your REST service is supporting both JSON and XML. Or you decided you have to support only XML. Then client always to send which data format? Only XML. You will inform to the client, I am accepting only XML content. Give me only XML content. Don't give any other content. So then client has to send always XML only. If you define as a JSON, client has to send always only JSON data format. If you define both or you are accepting both, then client can send anything, either XML or JSON. You are converting based on that. Okay, you are just accepting the data. So you are exchanging the data in the sense what? Is it request and response or not? See, I'm just saying like exchanging the data. What is the meaning of exchanging data? Sending request, receiving response. That is what the exchanging the information. Okay, fine. Now let's concentrate on the JSON language for some time. Leave about the Spring Boot. Okay, JSON is a neutral data format commonly being used with nowadays with every programming language. Nowadays with every programming language. Even nowadays, databases also supporting SQL language is also supporting JSON data formats. So now you understood the importance of JSON. SQL language is also supporting JSON data formats. So that means every programming language nowadays 100% is supporting JSON data format. So that is that much popular nowadays it is, but we will try to understand how to define the JSON. So JSON is a programming language, JSON is a technology, JSON is a data format. What? JSON is a simple data format. JSON is not a programming language, JSON is not a technology, JSON is not a software. JSON is simply what? A simple data representation. How you are representing the data? Name, Dilip, email, dilip@gmail.com. So simply you are representing what? Data you are representing. That's all. That's why it will be called as a data format. You are just making a format by applying all the data. So let's see here how to define JSON data formats. We will try to understand the rules. So here, for example, if I have this one, same thing I would like to convert in a JSON point of view. How to do that? We will try to understand. What is this? This is XML. If in case if I return same content in the JSON, how it looks like, we will try to understand. And along with that, we will try to understand the rules also. Okay, JSON data format contains concepts of JSON objects, JSON arrays, JSON properties. Okay, something. This is all terminology we are going to use as part of JSON data format. So we are going to see something like JSON objects, JSON arrays, JSON properties, and kind of terminology we are going to see now. Now, generally, JSON object is defined with curly braces. JSON object is defined with the curly braces. So you will not understand within one example. We will see slowly. JSON arrays are represented with, okay, square braces. Okay, JSON property is defined as key colon value. So here JSON property is going to come as key and value. For example, now, so arrays, you know what is the concept of arrays? What is arrays? Same kind of elements when you are representing, generally you will go with a data structure called as arrays. Array of student objects. Then, for example, you will write down what? In a Java point of view, if I given student class. So now in this case, integer ID, string name. So tell me in this case, by using this, can I create object? By using only this, can I call as student object? I mean, by using this, can I create student object in a Java language point of view? So if I want to make sure array of students, are you going to write down anything else? A new something, one more student, something like that. What you will do simply? Student of array symbol you will write down and you will define the student, something like that. You will define the size also. Right? New student, something like that. You will define a size, whatever it is. So then that means what is the point of here it is? What is the difference between the above one and below line? What is the difference between this one and this one? This is representing a single object. This is representing group of objects, right? Group of same objects. So now can I simply, okay, I'll just write down like this. Can I keep like this? Is it valid now? Or I will do. Is it okay now? Valid? So tomorrow if I return one more student object, I created one more student object, comma, S2, is it a valid? So you're understanding the core Java, right? Okay. So see here, same thing here also. Now understand here. Okay. JSON arrays are going to define by using some curly braces to represent the data format. JSON arrays are going to use again curly square braces here. JSON properties are going to define in the key value page. Now see here, if it is XML data format, what you understood from this? Data, the real data. What is the real data in this? What is the value? I can call it as value. Dilip is the value here. So here, Dilip is what? Value. And what about the name? I'm asking about XML. Tag, yes. Okay. Name is a tag. Dilip is a value, right? So in XML language, how you represented data form, how you represented a small property in XML language by using tag. Inside the tags, you are using the value. You are using the value. Now, if I want to write down same thing in the JSON data format point of view, how I'm going to define? Key colon value. So for example, now what is the key I can take here? Name colon Dilip. So this is how the data format is going to define in the JSON. But along with that, I'll tell you a couple of other rules also. Key should be always inside double quotes. Okay, key should be always inside the double quotes. And when it comes to value wise, if value is string type, okay, should be represented inside the, should be defined inside double quotes. Okay, in case value is, if value is numeric, okay, no need of double quotes. Okay, so similarly, if value is Boolean, no need of double quotes here also. So total 3 points we made here. Okay, so if value is string, that should be defined inside the double quotes. Similarly, if value is numeric value, maybe it is 1, 2, 10.00, okay, kind of values, we need to define inside the double quotes. No need to define double quotes. Similarly, Boolean value also, no need to define the double quotes. Now tell me, okay. So how I'm going to convert, okay, this content especially, or this overall thing, in a JSON format point of view, we will try to understand now. So you need 100% JSON knowledge, guys, 100%. Then only you can work with the REST APIs. Otherwise, there is no use of REST APIs. You cannot understand also. So please practice a lot of examples today also at home. I'll show you where to practice JSON. No need of XML also, only JSON. Okay, now this is all representing a XML object or not? Simply, I want another student data in the XML data format. Then what you will do? You will do same thing only, right? So again, you will write down something like that. So this is also another XML data format or not? XML object or not? Yes. Now with respect to JSON, if you want to write down above thing same, okay, what you have to do, for example, name, how can I take? So we have to define, when you are defining any data in the JSON, you have to define always in the JSON, inside the JSON objects. Inside the, when you are representing single data, single element data or single object, you have to define always inside the JSON objects. Inside the, what I told, curly braces, JSON object. So you have to use what? JSON object. Inside JSON object, what you have to use? It's simply like Java class only, guys, I can say. Now if I remove class name, what it is? I mean, not exactly same. It's just like that. Okay, integer ID. But in JSON case, we are writing ID like 101, something like that. but just like JSON object, Java object kind of representation. Okay, so I taken JSON object. Everything has to wrapped inside the JSON object. Fine. And what is the next one? So here user I no need to use. As per JSON, I want only JSON object curly braces. Here name is a key or not? Okay. So key should be always inside the double quotes. Name followed by colon and value. So delete. Is that correct? Okay, fine. What about the next? Okay, along with this, I'll add one more point now. Every key value pair should be separated by comma. Okay, so just comma symbol. Okay, what you have to do now? So do you have one more key value pair? Or? Yes, that's why you have to add comma. So next, what is the next key? Email. And what is the value? Colon value. So you have to give value inside the double quotes. Why? It's a string value. So do I need comma or not again? Yes, comma, password. So is it a valid key? No. And the last one is numeric value. Okay, comma again I taken. So what is the last one? Numeric one. Contact colon. Okay, I will just take reference as this one, right? Okay. So whatever it is. Okay, now is it valid? Contact. Yes. Every key is always inside the double quotes, irrespective of value data type. You have to keep always keys inside the double quotes. Okay, now value. If you it's a pure numeric value, so you may keep inside the double quotes, or you may not keep it also. But it is a valid JSON syntax. So how can we know that it's a valid JSON syntax or not? Whatever you practice, whatever you converted, you followed all the rules and regulations of the JSON or not. So how to do that is just do one thing. Control C, go to the Google, and you will have some online JSON validators. JSON validator. Just search with the JSON validator. You will get anything is fine. Open any one website. So just copy paste here. Whatever you prepared, click on the validate JSON. Everything is valid or not. Now, one more point I would like to make here. Once the last key value pair is completed, are you going to keep comma? No, we should not keep the comma at last key value pair level. This is a very simple things only. What we learned in our childhood onwards. Somehow you are correlating. These are all things. Okay. So you just written a simple JSON object. For example, if it is XML, okay, here itself I will add. I have one more tag called as marks. And I have subject 1. Okay, tell me what I did here now. What I added in the XML. So what I did here again, marks level again, I added nested child tags, internal child tags, right? So is it a valid XML data first of all? Yes, it's a valid. I can do that. Inside child tag, I can define another child tags also. Now, if I want to convert again this XML to JSON data format, similar to this, I have to write down the XML JSON data format. I have to write down the XML data format. So what you have to do, tell me now. First of all, marks is a tag or not? So here, can I write down it as a property? And inside marks, what you are defining? Few other properties. That means, can I say like, user is an object? I mean, in a simple our Java terminology point of view to understand. Inside that user, you are keeping which object? One more object? Marks object. So student inside address. Student inside student class, address class. User class, inside user class, marks class. So, string name, string email, string password, long contact. This one, something like class marks or marks, something like that you are giving kind of thing, right? So similarly, now what I'm going to do here, it is comma. What is that? Marks. Fine. But this time, marks is having directly a value. No, right? Marks is again a sub object, a small object again inside the user. Right? Right? So similarly, inside JSON also, I'm going to define one more JSON object. You got the point now? You are understanding how we are. So this is all you have to do that, guys. So many examples will come. Okay, arrays inside arrays, objects inside the objects in JSON data format also. I will show you before you are leaving right now only. I will stop here only and I will show you how to practice. Okay, now tell me what I have to write down again here. Same copy paste concept, key comma value. So what is the first key? Subject one. And followed by the value, comma. Yeah, nested JSON objects. I can call it as nested JSON objects. Subject 2 and the respective marks, comma. Subject 3, colon, the respective values. Comma. Subject 4, colon, the respective values. So do I need to add again comma in the after subject 4 key value pair? No, at last element you should not add any comma. If you are adding again, that means the meaning of comma is you are having next key value pair. But do we have next key value pair? We don't have. So that's why you should not give the comma. Now see whether it is a valid or not. I mean syntaxes wise, you given properly colons, curly braces, okay, or numeric values or whatever it is. You given everything properly or not? If you want to verify again, go to the JSON validators. Validate JSON. So it's a valid JSON or not? For example, if you made anywhere else small mistake, you forgot the comma. Click on validate, then it will give you errors. Your JSON is not following JSON rules and regulations like that. So why I'm telling all these things is, I'll just finish in 1 or 2 minutes. Tomorrow, a front-end application or any client application always sends JSON data to our REST services. And at the same time, when we are implementing REST services as a REST API developer, okay, as a REST API developer, we should take JSON and we have to convert it to Java object. So that means what we have to do? Client application sending what? JSON data. You only told to client application you are supporting the JSON. In your REST controller level, we will define somehow as a JSON. And so that client sending which data format? JSON data format. Okay, client controller level, you received which data format now? JSON data. But Java language is going to understand JSON directly. No, then what you have to do? You have to convert JSON to Java language. JSON data format is a JSON object is a different format. Java object is a different format. That's why I asked earlier one question. I know English, you know Hindi, what we have to do? Conversion, right? So similarly, now what you will do? Once you are receiving the JSON, you will convert JSON object to Java object. So that is also we are going to learn tomorrow. How to write or how to convert JSON object to Java object. Finally, JSON converted as a Java object in your controller class. Now, do you know the next process, right? What you have to do? It's all Java object. Pass it to service class, repository, that stuff, whatever you want to do. Finally, everything you received as a, you made it as a Java object. Now you know that how to play with the Java objects, right? You know all the Java language. But before that, we are understanding JSON. That's why I'm telling you, please, today we are understanding only how to write JSON data format. We are not understanding how to convert JSON to Java again. That's a next level step. Before that, you should know what is a JSON, what is JSON data format, key value pairs and everything. Okay, so what I'm doing, I just stopped here only. JSON arrays examples we will take slowly. First, we will start writing one REST service with small JSON object. Even I will not involve this one also first. First, what I will do tomorrow, we will create a JSON object, REST API to support this JSON. Yeah, first we will take this one. Once you are getting knowledge on this, comfort, then we will write down one more REST service where it is accessing internally nested JSON objects also. Nested JSON objects. Then we will move to the JSON arrays also. How to define JSON arrays and all. I will not give everything at a time. Then we will go. So tomorrow we will write a REST service how to deal with this, and after that how to deal with that. But before that, what you have to do is just Google it. You have W3 schools, right? So inside W3 schools, please refer this tutorial. It's a very small tutorial. It will not take me like more than 4 to 5 hours. But the JSON data format nowadays is being used everywhere. For example, this is one of the REST service. What is this data format? JSON data format. I will just in the Google level REST APIs for testing. Okay, I'm just randomly opening couple of things. So what is this? So what are all these REST services? You will come to know that within 2-3 days, what is all these things and all. Okay, you will also come. But my final intention is, anyone is taking XML, at least for example purpose point of view also, everybody is taking only JSON data formats, JSON objects. Okay, I will show you one more. So see here, I will click on this resource. So what is this? JSON. So that means why I am open 3 different websites. Okay, so like that, you are going to see everywhere JSON only, JSON data format in the request and response level. So you should have knowledge of how to define JSON arrays, JSON objects, JSON properties and everything. So go to the W3 schools. You have a good tutorial here. So same thing, JavaScript object notation. It's a text format. That's what I told you. It's a plain text format to define the data, to transport the data. So that is what we are doing, right? From front end to back end, you are transporting the data. From .NET application from Java application, you are transporting the data. From Flipkart application to payment gateway, you are transporting the data. From Book My Show application to, so and so INAX theater, you are transporting the data. From Swiggy application to so and so application, so and so payment application level, how you are exchanging the information now. You are getting how Swiggy, once you selected the products, you are seeing 1,000 rupees you have to pay. The 1,000 value you have to share with the ICICI Bank application. How you are sharing now? Via using web services. Internally, they might have using JSON data format. They are sharing via JSON data formats. Okay, so please go here. Please practice JSON examples today. Okay, so it's very important how to define and everything. What is JSON and everything. You don't worry about parsing all these things and all. Don't worry. What you have to practice here it is. See here also they are comparing with XML only. Same thing we also did. They are just discussing disadvantages, advantages. Yeah. JSON data types, string we know, number we know, JSON object we know, JSON array also we are going to discuss, Boolean we can do. And null is nothing but, in case if you don't have any value to define for the password, you can send null also as an empty value. If you want to send an empty value, you can send null also. That is what they are saying. Okay, we will see those things. JSON strings. So this is what we discussed. JSON string, it's always in the double quotes point of view. JSON numbers, key is always double quote. Value might be inside the without double quotes also. JSON objects, combination of JSON properties if you are keeping inside the JSON object. JSON arrays. Okay, so there are a lot of things available again in JSON point of view. But arrays objects, if you are get the knowledge, it's a very simple. If you see here, data types understand, don't understand the parsing, understand the JSON objects, understand the JSON arrays. That's all. These three components you have to understand here. Don't concentrate on the parsing. Okay, how it is parsing, what is this JSON dot parse? Don't require all this knowledge. Just understand what is JSON versus XML, JSON syntaxes, JSON introduction, all these things. That's more enough. Okay, it's a very small tutorial if you observe. Okay, JSON server, PHP, ignore all these things. JSON objects, JSON arrays, JSON stringify, JSON data type, JSON versus XML. These things just try to understand. After that, if you are having interest, then go with other topics. Okay, so please get the knowledge of JSON. Even I will also cover a lot of other examples. Going further, only JSON only. Now, XML I'm not going to discuss. I will discuss only one example after we are completing the entire JSON REST API implementation. I will tell you how to pass XML data also. As the last class we will see. But the priority always for which data format? A JSON only. So that is what we will discuss in class also. So let's connect on tomorrow.